so for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some slides that are going to present the concepts, and then we're going to run the modified line item app, see what it does, and then we're going to actually create it together from scratch using the concepts that I'm going to cover here, including, I don't think I can capture this in the video, but creating a UML on the board together. All right, so here is a architecture that you should adopt and use as you develop your projects. So you can always think, no matter what project you have, in terms of presentation layer, business layer or tier, and database tier, right? So it helps to separate the concerns in this manner. And then the classes that have to do with presentation are going to go in the presentation layer. So the UI. The UI might be, what might the UI be?
User interface, so
right.
For presentation.
It's the presentation, okay, what do you say?
Buttons.
The buttons, so it could be forms, it could be buttons.
Libraries.
Graphics libraries, absolutely. Or in our case, for now, it's just going to be the console, but we're still interacting with the user. So this is going to be separated in its own layer, in its own presentation tier. The business classes are going to be used so that we can model essentially the database and work with what is in the database with Java. And so we map. So you create your database. Have you taken the database class? Some of you have? Okay. So you design a database. You have your tables and how they're connected. And you're going to have, let's say you have a to-do list, some kind of application that keeps track of your tasks. So you're going to have a task table that is going to have the name of the task, is it completed, and some other information. And then maybe you divide it into a business and personal tabs, right? So you'd have a table for that. And then you're going to think about what kind of a relationship is there. It turns out it's one-to-many, so you can have many tasks, but they have to belong to one of either the personal or the business. They won't belong to both. So you design your database, and then you essentially map the database columns and rows into Java objects. Okay, so why are we doing this? Because we need to work with these objects with Java. We need to manipulate them with Java. And so we are separating them in this manner. In our case, we don't actually have a full-blown database by any means, but we're going to put the files that approximate the database in the database layer. All right. So the three-tier architecture, very common, and you can start modeling from now on your projects in terms of presentation. So our main, where we have our main method, and where we ask the user questions, where will that go? Presentation. It certainly is going to go in the presentation. All right, and so we have created our structure here. And then to translate this to Java with Eclipse, how would we structure a program? So we're going to have the source folder, and then we're going to have a package for the entire application. And then within this package, we're going to have a package for the business layer, and all the files that belong to the business layer package into the database pertaining to the UI package. So from now on, it's so simple in the sense to do this, we're going to project in the three layers.
The UI is equivalent to the presentation tier.
Yes, the UI. So we're going to do together. So before we look at the diagram, I would like to run the one, because here is what this application does. So You have seen it before as well. So from the console, you're going to be prompted, and welcome to the line item calculator. Enter product code. So we have 7, and we also have it's going to be unknown 0. And we're going to get a order, and then being asked whether to continue. And this is what we are. This is the behavior. In other words, the to you and said, we need our user or our client wants to go. So this is how it's going to work. You get a specification, more than just a screenshot to design the program. So where do you start? Well, we're going to start with create your class, right? So what classes are we going to have for our line application?
So yeah,
There you go. Class names, if you remember. Kind of, actually probably the easiest one to start. We have a product. So what are the instance variables that we have? The code, that is the price, remembers the price. And what does this mean? What's the okay? Right, and the plus because they're public. So the set to set the value of the string, and the get is going to be string, and it's the same with the other two. And we have what we call a custom method, which is to get formatted price. And then the line item, how will the line item relate to the product? Well, to actually work with a line item and the quantity of the product, you have to have a product inside the line item. So this is how those two relate. So one of your instance variables in the line item is going to be of type. Mike? What is the type of this?
type of the product is going to be product.
It's going to be of type product, which is an object. So in other words, as a side note, that means that this value is going to get passed by value or by reference. Just to go back to by reference because it's an object. And we also have the quantity, and then we set the product, set the quantity, and then we get the total. We calculate the total, and then we also have a custom method, total formatted.
So is an object when it's like a non-logical operation, it's just kind of been
No, so do you know the primitive data types?
I don't. Maybe I should look into that.
We can go over them real quick. Who is going to tell us a couple examples of primitive data types?
Int and double.
Int and double?
String.
Float.
Float? Okay, what do you say? Boolean. So the simpler, that's why they call primitive. So they're mostly the numbers and the booleans. And anything that is more complicated, so the string is actually more complex than in char actually is a primitive too. String is an object because it's more complicated, right? So if it's not a primitive, it's an object. It's just a higher level.
So it's like if it's non-primitive, it's an object.
That's correct. Yeah, this is pretty much the only way it can go. It's either a primitive or an object. All right, and then the product DB class is going to do some setting here of the data is for our products, and that's why even though we don't have a real database, we are going to represent the database in a separate class. And how does it connect? Well, it also goes to product because when we get product, we're going to return a product. All right. So this is the UML, and then this would be a good place to start to write out what classes do I need and how do they interconnect. Although there was a funny joke, I don't think I can find it right now, but the joke was, what, this is what people think object-oriented programming looks like, and actually it looked just a lot more messy, which is right. It was just full of, messy arrows that interconnect in weird ways. So it can be a lot more messy than this. All right. So let's go ahead and create our lineup application then. With keeping in mind what I just showed you. Let's see, glasses. All right. So we're going to start from very scratch. So file, new. And I'll maybe try to slow down. I would like everyone to do this hands-on, not just watch me. So new Java project. And you can raise your hand if you need me to slow down or if something didn't work. And we're going to name it line item. I don't think I have one. So it should be okay here. I don't have one in this workspace. All right. And now in the line item, I have the source and the JRE library. Right. What does JRE stand for, by the way? Java Runtime Environment. Okay. All right. And now we're going to create our packages. So new package. So you're going to click on the source and create a new package. And then we're going to have a business. Actually, UI, it doesn't matter, we create all of them. So UI, and then right click on the source again, new package, business, and new package, DB. And as we look through our UML diagram, we need to have a couple of classes in the business package, and they're going to be the product. Well, the product is not going to have a main, so just finish and create the class. And also right click again on the business package, and the other class we're going to create will be the line item. So the line item is going to calculate the totals, and then it's going to use the product to make this possible.
And you
Right.
said the business package is not having a name, does not have a name.
No, it's not going to have a name.
So from the line item, you learn another class in business.
Yeah, so you can have, so we are now seeing you can have multiple classes in the same package.
Do we have another class that's like the line item?
We should have two, product and line item. So this is our business package, and now I'm sure you saw here you can use those arrows to open and close. Close it for now, and then in the DB, I'm going to add a new file, new class, and we're going to name it product DB. Okay, and if we actually were working with a database, this would be a lot more complicated, of course. And then in the UI, we're going to add our line item app, and this one is going to have a main. And if we had forms, if we're working with forms, we would add those classes here as well. So now we have our structure for our project created. And by the way, this is also nothing more than folders in the workspace. So let's see, what is our workspace? Would you like me to show you the folders on the hard disk, or are you content? Okay. So our project, where is our workspace? It's in, mine is under C users workspace 7. So I'll go here, C users workspace 7, and I have a line item project just created. And if I go in the source folder, here we go. So the packages are nothing more than folders, right? And in the folders, I have the files I created, right? So it's again a matter of the same things, they map, and we can refer to them in different ways depending what is convenient. When we inside Eclipse, it's convenient to talk about them as packages, but they're really folders.
Why do they use the folder language? It kind of makes sense to me that you would, if they're folders, call them folders. Why is that three packages?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes I wonder about a lot of these things, why they're called what they are. But
They can do better, of course.
oh, it's Java too. It's Java and Eclipse.
Uh,
Android especially gives its own names to a lot of, to everything. So I think that's one of the challenging parts about it. But this is what it is. So we'll talk about them as packages. And now we're going to start adding the code, and we'll start with the product and see if we can. We're just going to add the fields in the constructor and then see if we remember how to generate the setters and getters to save some time. Okay. So now we have, this is the complete structure of our project, and next we are starting to add the code. All right. So for the product, this should be pretty quick. We have done it several times. The first thing we're going to add is the fields. And we're going to have a private string code, private string description, and private double price. And then what comes after the fields? The constructors. Okay, so public product, and the constructor always matches the name of the class. Okay, added an extra bracket here. So code is going to equal to empty string. Description. Same. And price 0. And the custom constructor. So we're going to pass it a string code. So notice that before I start adding the arguments for the custom constructor, I'm getting all kinds of errors because I can't have the same method defined twice. But if I overload it by adding different arguments, then that's fine.
My question was an example of overloading out of this.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a string code, string description, and the double price. And then we use the this.code, which means this.code means we're referring to the code. Which code?
The private string code.
Is going to be referring to the field, to the instance variable.
Yeah.
All right. And then we set it to code, then this refers to the code we're passing in. So this means the current object. And then the same with the description, this dot description. And this dot price. Okay, I just want to check my recording real quick. Seems to be still going. Okay. All right. So now let's add our getter and setter methods. And let's see. So I believe we right click. Okay. We're going to right click and then source and then generate getters and setters. So if that's not showing for you, maybe your cursor is not in the right place. My cursor is outside of the last constructor, but inside the class, right? So right click, source, and generate getters and setters for all of them. Yes. And here they are. So that was saved us some time for sure.
Could you scroll up from there, please? I want to see what that is in relation to the constructor.
Yeah. So here's.
Oh, okay. So
it's right after.
Okay, cool. Okay. Thanks.
How did you do the get?
Put your cursor in the code right after the constructor, the closing brackets, and then right click. Right click.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right click. Right click. And then source.
Connection and accept.
Select it. That's it. Okay. So we have to copy it. All right.
So this is setting our instant variables.
Correct.
This is instantiating.
No, this is actually defining the constructor. We're not instantiating anything until we use the new keyword. So this is just everything in the product class is setting the stage. So it's just writing a template. We're not instantiating anything. So we have.
I guess I don't understand then why we do these two steps.
The constructors? Because when we instantiate the object, the instance is going to have to call on the constructor. This is the rule. And then it's going to call on the constructor. Now we have two options. We can just call it without arguments or with arguments. When you create an object, always the constructor is called. And this is what actually creates it. So we're setting the stage here, but to actually trigger those constructors, we have to say product P is equal to a new product. And then when we do this behind the scenes, Java is going to call the constructor to create it. So we are helping it set up so that it can create the object. What we call the new keyword. If you don't have the new keyword, you're not creating an object, right? And we never create an instance of this object inside the same class. This is just the template. So it's like you can devolve the template and the actual, right?
So this is the template.
This is the template. The class is always the template. Right. Because there is nothing specific here, right? I mean, it's all generic, right? The only specific thing is the default values, I guess, that we have. But we at no point said the description is, Java book. So once you start getting specifics, that's when we're creating an instance. That's probably the easiest way to remember it. Right? Okay. Any errors we need to fix before we continue? We just have one more custom method to add, which is the price formatted. Okay. So it's going to be a public string. It's going to return a string. Get price formatted. And here we're going to formatted. Okay, first of all, why is it giving us this error right now? Maybe you should be able, I would say, to tell me what is the problem here.
Yeah, we haven't defined yet, price formatted yet, haven't used it yet.
You need to import the library number format.
It doesn't know yet we're going to use it. So this is just our own custom method we're creating. So why is it complaining then? These are good guesses. It's great you're thinking about it. We won't use it from this class.
You can define it anywhere yet?
There's nothing in it yet?
There is nothing in it, but
It shouldn't
they
be.
could be an empty method.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something else. So just almost there. Think a little more.
We didn't import the right library.
It said there's no return statement.
There is no return statement. He looked up the error message, but that's it. So the way we defined our method, is going to expect a return value, and we don't have this yet. So that's why this error. So we need to have a return statement. All right. But since our return is a string we need to actually format, we're going to start by calling number format currency is equal to number format dot get currency instance. And it looks like it imported number format for us up here. So if this was not imported, we'll be getting an error message because number format comes from the Java library. And also note that we are not creating an object.
I don't have that imported.
Yeah, I just did it for us. Who remembers what does it mean if we didn't have to create an object, but we still get to call the method?
It's like it's a built-in object or an open method.
They are all built-in methods, that's true.
Called,
It was called a static. So if it's a static method, you can call without creating a new instance. Okay. And then we have a string, price formatted, is equal to a currency dot format price. So it's a two-step process, and this is an example of Java being verbose. We have to, create a currency instance, and then call the format on this currency instance to actually format the price. And now we're going to return price formatted, and our error should go away. And next we're going to, so this is everything. We have now created the template for the product class. Now we're ready to instantiate Java, our Java products or whatever you have, right? And then let's see what goes in the line item. So move to the other file. So the line item is going to calculate the total. So if you have multiple products, then it's going to calculate what is the quantity. Could you add this functionality in the product class? Yeah, actually you could. Okay, so it's a design choice to do it like this, and a little bit just for showing that we can have multiple classes here in the same
Technically,
package.
you do everything in one class. Even if that's not good practice, you could do it.
Yeah, well, you might need to have multiple classes in the same file, but yeah, you could have this very long file with multiple classes, and yeah, you could. Okay, so the line item is going to have only two fields, which are private of type product, called product, and a private of int, which is the quantity. Then we have our constructors, line public line item. Oops, misspelled something here. There you go. So this dot product is equal to null. So objects are commonly initialized as null. So what is null, by the way?
Not empty.
It's not zero.
Not empty.
It's not zero, but it's not empty. That's exactly right. We don't know what it is, but we just need to put something there. Okay. And then also we're going to have the other custom constructor. Product and int quantity. And remember that there is also tutoring available. So Shunta, I forgot, I think it's on Thursdays, I posted an announcement. He did take this class, so he will help you, and it might be useful for you to go see him as well.
Does it cost a ticket tutoring?
No, it's free.
Which is only here and then until like the end of this month, and then there is no other tutor.
Yeah, we need to find someone else, but so far we have not. You want to do it?
Couldn't we just like sneak into the comp sci lab because they're taking Java as well, and just say, hey, we're in ITC 113, but Java's Java, or are they like bound to have to only tutor the comp sci students?
I really don't know the rule for this.
I'll find out.
Yeah, you may want to try to infiltrate and see.
Okay.
I just don't know if there is any rule about this.
Okay.
I just had a quick question about what, so I know some of them are capitalized and some of them are like product.
Yes. I'm glad you're asking these questions. Right. So if it's a primitive, it's lowercase.
Right.
If it's an object, it's uppercase. If it's a class, it's an uppercase.
Right.
Methods, lowercase.
Right.
So
The objects.
there is a
classes.
actually a reason behind how we name them. Okay, so let's create our getters and setters again. We could have also generated the constructors, but that's okay. All right. Here they are. And now we have a couple custom methods. The first one is going to be a public double get total. And Mike and everyone else, are you familiar with camel case? Okay. So note that some of the identifiers, for example, set product or get total.
Oh, that's when you have the uppercase in the second word.
Second and
Yeah.
subsequent, correct. Yeah.
Alright, thanks for bringing that up.
So for the total, we're going to have, we're returning a double. So we're going to have a double total is equal to quantity times product dot get price. Maybe I have an extra. Okay. So now we are pretty generic here. Again, we can use this for any quantity and for any product, right? So we want to be generic in our template. So this is good. And then we need to return. What are we returning? What do you think here? Total. Okay. And then lastly, we just need to format. So I think we're just going to copy the code from this. Let's just copy this method and reuse it from our product. So get price formatted. So notice how we're using the same method in different places. This method is a good candidate to actually create a static method that is going to be available to all our classes and just pass it maybe a different value. But we won't do this right now. But I just want to point out we're being a little bit redundant here. Okay, so here we're going to change. I copied the code from the price formatted, but we need to make some changes. First of all, we're going to name this method getTotal formatted. And now to get the total, we're going to say double total is equal to this dot get total. So we're actually calling the getter method to get the total. And then it's going to be similar. The only difference we need to make is we're not formatting a price, we're formatting the total. And so we'll change the name of this variable here from price formatted to total formatted. All right, and we are ready with our line item class.
When you finished this quantity under public line item, at the brackets, didn't you do the get?
Yeah, so did you do the getter and setter or not yet?
It won't work.
Okay, I'll take a look. So next we're going to work on the product DB, but why don't we take our break a little early and then we'll finish after the break. All right, then I can take a look and see. So 10 minutes. Because what were your cursors?
No,
Okay, let's try again. Source. This should work. So source. And then you want both of them, so click it. I even forgot my card key today. Yeah, in the purse. But luckily this door doesn't get closed much, so.
Should I make sure the door stays open then?
we're missing out.
Yeah, I think it's.
The stray cat I found a couple nights ago has not come back yet. From my neighbors when I put out food and water for them.
You want them to come back?
Yeah, I mean, he marched up to my porch door instead of meowing at it, so I figure he's not inside my apartment, therefore I don't have a pet. I'm not violating the pet rule. So I want him to come back so we can hang outside.
Sonny, can I try and show you
Yeah,
importing?
yeah, let's do it.
Because then I was thinking, I could just show you. So I did import over the break, which was now. Years ago, I imported one that I hadn't been working yet. And so this is the error that I could get. And then I look, I see that there is a GRE. And so.
Yeah. And the settings, I'll get to do all the next steps, but you can actually add it from the setting, but why is it not? Yeah. Wait, is this one the one file for we listen to this, we just copy the code?
Which is what I did.
Yeah, right. Why is that the chart important this particular? Maybe sometimes it's actually maybe something wrong with the project. So let me see if I import it here from my flash drive. if it's going to give me the same error. So which one is that?
It was chapter 4, exercise 2.
Did you import it from your flash drive or from the?
Flash drive.
Okay, so I'll try that. I wonder if you need to copy it maybe. But existing projects. Okay. Say again.
So yeah, it was X starts, chapter 4, exercise 2.
This one.
Yeah.
And you clicked on this folder, not on a lower folder. Okay. Oh, okay. So maybe there's something wrong with the package. Let's see. So one thing we can do is clean.
What was that under edit?
Yeah, let me see if it's going to even work so that we don't. Clean. And build. Okay. All right, so this is where we can try to set up the JRE location, but I don't remember the exact steps.
Well, we don't have to take a class yet.
Oh yeah, actually, I guess we need to start here, but maybe something is wrong with this particular
Window were you just in? Because I could take a look at that. How did you get to that place? And I'll post.
project properties. I think the easiest thing to do would be to Google how to add the JRE to an existing project and then see if the steps and follow them. I think it's probably through here though. And if we have time for lab time, we can play with it some more. So for now, I guess you just have to copy the code and paste it. Okay. So let's resume our current project with a line item. We have 2 more classes. And the next one is going to be the product DB. So what is this all about? We're going to create a public static get product, and it's going to return a product. So product type, and it's going to get the product code. So what this method will do, based on the product code, it's going to set the description and price for the different products that we support, right? And it's not liking this because we need to import, you let me spell it now. So we need to say import business dot product. As you can see, it wasn't seeing the product until we imported the package, since we now put them in separate packages. Okay. And now we're going to, in order for us to work with the product, here is where we need to create an instance product P or product, small case. So that's the name of the object is equal to a new product. And this is where we instantiate an object of type product. And when we use the new keyword, when we run this code, it's going to go and pull the constructor. Since we're not passing any arguments, it's going to pull the constructor without arguments, and the constructor will actually create the class. All right, and now we're going to do our mock database, so a comment would be fill the product object with data, and now we're getting specific. So we're going to set the code to the product code. So we're setting the code to the code that was passed to the method. So if it's Java, then the code is going to be Java. If it was MySQL, it would be MySQL. And then, we're going to now use an if statement to set the other fields of the product. So if product code equals ignore case, remember we have to use, we can't use a equal, double equal, because it's not a primitive type, equals to Java. Then product.set description is going to be Murex Eclipse. Murex Java Eclipse rather. And then our price, we're going to set the price to $57.50. Else if so we repeat the same. I almost want to copy and paste, but maybe we should do one more just to practice it. So and then if the product code equals ignore case, MySQL, then product.set description is going to equal to Murex MySQL. So here we will be actually inserting rows. If we had a database, those of you who have taken the database class, if we had the database, here we will be saying insert into table product, product code, MySQL, and so on. So this would be insert statements in the database language, such as MySQL, SQL. And then product.set price, insert set price to $55.50. And let's just do one more. Let's just do the product set description to unknown. And you can add yourself additional products later if you like. And then we, okay, so a couple of things. This is not a string, so take out the quotes here on line 20. And finally, we're going to return the product. And this completes our product DB. And then if we wanted to get information from this product DB, if we were using SQL database, we'll be using select statement. Select product where product code is equal to Java and so on. So this is how this maps. We're sort of bootstrapping because we can't put together the code for the database just yet. All right, so let's make sure that your database doesn't have any syntax errors, your database code, and then we're going to add the UI. And by the way, I'm saying that we'll be using SQL queries select and insert, but this is still Java, so we're going to actually have to create those queries as strings and then still use Java, right? So this is a different topic. If you're taking PHP, you're going to learn more about it. But this is still a Java file. We're going to create SQL statements as strings and then run them through the Java commands. Any errors, or can we move to the last part?
I have an error on line 7.
What is that?
This method must return a product, a result.
Oh, yeah. So you're missing this line. So always you have to return, so you said return product, so return
gotcha.
product.
Yeah, I'm seeing this before.
Anything else? Anyone else?
It's not, do you need to put a double somewhere for the set price? It's not like in my 750.
Do you have quotes as I did?
No, I don't have any quotes. I just have to straight ready to put in quotes.
One second. Let's see here. You have a dollar sign though, that's not, you can't put that. All right, and so, see if we can finish this. So let's go, sorry, to our UI. And this is where we have a main. So we already did this code, by the way. Would it help you to do it again, or do you want to just copy it and then just run the app? This was more of an illustration of the layout of the program. But would it be helpful to actually hand code the code inside this class, or just copy it from another example? Let me know.
I personally think that we can copy it, but I would like, because I'm still not clear how you call other classes.
All
So
right.
it would be nice, and we can copy it, but if we can.
Then go over it. All right, let's do this. So, all right, so let's find it and then we can copy it. There are several places we can look for it. What is the easiest? Do you all have your flash drives here with your starter code and book apps? Then we can do it like that. So go to your folder with the exercise starts.
Sorry, can we just navigate there like through the file? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
Going
yeah,
through
we're doing that.
Eclipse?
Yeah, I'm not going through Eclipse because I'm just going to copy the code and then paste it inside the existing file. So I'm going through, here is the book apps. And this should map exactly what you have, right? It should be the same. And we wanted chapter 5. And so the file I want is there in the source. It's in the UI package. It is the line item app. And you don't want to open it with Microsoft Word or any other rich text formatting because it's going to potentially add formatting and cause problems. So Notepad++ or Notepad are good. I have a Notepad++, which I like for this purpose. So I open it here, and then I'm going to copy the entire source code. And then there will be some errors, so we're going to fix them though. And then I'm going to delete everything inside the line item app, except maybe don't delete the UI, the package UI. And then paste, and now we're going to get errors and then fix them. All right, so we didn't have a Murak package, so our package structure is different, so we delete this line. And we have to remove the Murak because we just gave them DB, business, and UI. Do you remember this step? Okay, so clean this up. And I guess for me, that's it. And if you have no errors, then let's run this real quick, and then we'll look at it.
Doesn't like my DB dot.
Okay, I'll take a look. You rename it something, yeah. So you name it different. You have to just change the. This one. Now, if you're referencing this somewhere else, you might get some other errors. I'm just going to fix it the same way. Okay?
I have some errors, but the first suggestion says import product DB. So does that mean I'm just thinking I'm importing this into?
Can you show me the line?
Oh, I just, sorry, I should have,
Did you fix
I
it?
fixed it, yeah.
Okay,
The error went away, but I wanted to understand, that's what it was.
Yeah, it looks like it wanted to import.
Okay, cool.
So
Cool. All right, then it all goes away. All the
let's go
errors.
up and see what's the,
So imported
Yeah.
these lines 5, 6, and 7.
yeah. So
Okay.
because they're in different packages, you have to import them so you can see them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bring them
bring them in.
Can I take another peek at the DB? I didn't quite finish it.
Yeah, let's see here. And then we're going to, actually I need to, I guess, run this real quick. So let's say we have MySQL. I want 5 books and something, I guess.
What is missing?
Let me spell something here. Huh. All right, I'll have to see why this is not recognizing MySQL. Oh, because I said quantity 0. All right, never mind. So here is the code in the DB. And then we're going to walk through the Java item, line item app, and then take a look. So by the way, Liz, you had a question. Here is one example on line 10 where we are, what word did you use to connect classes, I guess? Call classes. To call them, you have to first create them, right? So they are only templates until you create them. So the first step in calling them is to create them. And once you create it, then you can, to call classes, you can call the methods of the class, basically. It's protected in this way. You can only call the public methods. And this is the process. To call a class, you create an instance, and then you can call all the public methods of this class, right? So it's a 2-step process.
So that product equals new product,
All right.
that's calling the method? Or,
Well, no, this is creating an instance of the product object.
and then it's the if, within the if else that we're calling methods.
Right, if you're calling, so the name of your particular object is product with a small p. This is confusing?
It is like a little bit.
I don't know. Book product, if that's helpful. We can change the name, but we have to change all of them. But the name is arbitrary, I guess, is the point. It's a common convention to call it a small case of what the name of the type of the object is, but it doesn't have to be. It could be something else. And now after you create your product, then you can call, if we go and look in the product class, we're going to see these are all the methods we defined there. Right? So let's go in our line item app. First of all, I would like to run this again and see. So let's say Java 5. Something is off with the quantity is not getting posted properly. So let's take a look and see what was the method here. It's reflecting quantity of 0. So that's actually a good problem. Do you guys, is it working for you? So it's just my typo? All right. So where would we look for that? This is actually something, maybe you can try to help me as a good exercise.
So we look at the line
Quantity. Yeah, that's where. So total is equal to quantity. So the quantity is equal to quantity. Get quantity and set quantity.
When you copied and pasted, did you change all the, prices and totals?
Yeah, I did. Okay.
Is it possible you misspelled quantity? So now it's not pulling the correct quantity.
It's pulling 0.
So it's pulling what we have listed.
in the constructor, right?
Right. So I'm wondering if in like your line item, where you do the system.out.print under quantity, if maybe one of those quantities is.
Might show up as an error though.
Well, do you want to move on to chapter 6 and talk about debugging?
Yeah, I guess this might be a good
Is it messing
segue.
up because in your else, you don't have a default set price? Like if you only have product.set description for unknown?
No,
Mine works
because
in iOS.
it's actually, if we didn't set it, it's going to be 0 because that's
Okay.
what the default is.
Okay, that's in the
Um,
constructor, okay.
So mine is having the default. Yeah, I guess we are almost out of time. I'll have to see this, but I guess it's something I did because it's working for all of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go back and look at
They
it.
didn't put a return total in the line item for the public double get total
Where, which file, Mike?
in the line item.
Maybe this is it.
That's for the calculations. Well, looks like the same one I had. Where? Maybe something's off with the get price, I don't know.
It's a logic error because we're not having any syntax errors, right? So,
Yeah.
all right, well, all right, I guess we can talk about debugging and maybe come back. We might run out of time, but
Well, before we do, can I ask
Yeah.
you, this import db.productdb at the top of line item app, all those imports that were imported?
Yeah.
That's Steve and senior to you, who did that for all of DB.
well, so that's
Because they're
right.
packages.
This is the first time we actually separated our code in different packages, and this shows us that if they're in different packages, if we didn't have the imports, they would not be seen, right? So the classes are not seen unless we import the package. So that's,
Maybe it was the packages in the, errors though. It's weird.
Yeah, because if you didn't import a package, you would get all sorts of errors because nothing was resolved.
well, guys, frankly, I don't think it's a good thing to just leave this. So maybe you can all help solve it. It'll take too long. All right, I guess just because I guess I won't have you debug my code. I'll figure it out. Well, let's at least start talking about testing and debugging and see how far we get.
If you post your code, it could be an interesting exercise. for-
There you go. I'll give extra credit to whoever. All right, I think I might just do that. All right, I like this idea.
Do we have just till the end of the day, or can we get some extra credit if we get it done tomorrow?
The first person who posts the solution will get 15 points.
I need to go to work on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
After I post it, the first person who finds the error will get 15 points. So we'll do that. That's good. I was trying to add more extra credit exercises anyway. All right. So there are 3 types of errors, and there are 2 types of activities we're going to talk about. So like
Yeah, so that's that.
we need to distinguish between. We want to learn about the difference between testing and debugging. So have you, I guess, anyone care to comment? You have encountered what is testing, what is debugging, right?
So I've done it for like 10 years professionally. So testing is just the knowledge of testing the software, checking for different types of errors and software involved. Debugging is actually physically hooking up a debugger to either an application or an operating system, getting the back end, we called it spew. And whenever there was, so we run a test, have it attached to the debugger, and when we hit a bug, the debugger would stop, and then you'd be able to like basically go in and figure out what was wrong.
That's right. So testing is more trying to break the application as a whole, almost like black box is only one type of testing, but trying to break the entire application, right? Whereas debugging is more of an activity that we would need to engage right now to figure out the problem with the quantity being 0. We actually can use the debugger to step through the code and look at the value as we change, as we progress through the methods. And it's more of a coding activity and more focused on a specific portion of the code. We should probably also talk about JUnit, but not at this time. And then we also have different types of errors. Errors are not all the same. So compile time or also syntax errors are the errors we have mostly been dealing with in class. They're the easiest errors to fix. They're the errors when we have the red, error mark, and then it's easy for us to go and fix it. So that's not catastrophic. If we can also have runtime error where you don't have any syntax error, so your code looks fine, but then you run it and then maybe you're relying on a library and you assume that the library was there. The library is not there, and therefore at this time you're going to get the error as your program runs. So this is a bad error to have, right? Runtime errors are not good. Or maybe you can have an exception that was not handled, and so this would be also not at compile time, but at runtime. And finally, we have logic errors, which is the example of the error we experienced, or I experienced right now. And the logic errors have nothing to do with the computer, right? So the logic errors have to do with how we have designed our algorithm. So it's on us. So those are actually, in a way, maybe the most difficult errors to fix, right? And those are called logic errors.
How is logic different from runtime?
Well, runtime, your logic may be fine, but you're just missing something that needs to be added to your program in order to run. There is no logic here, you're just missing something. Whereas
Like a semicolon.
no, semicolon would be an example of if you can't compile, it's a syntax error. If you compile, but then it's saying, oh, actually, we're missing this library that we need to finish. So maybe there's a swing library that has to do with UI, with forms. So this would be a runtime error. And then logic is when everything is running fine. There was actually a kind of a terrible example that there was, I guess, some kind of program that dispenses, as you know, a lot of medications in healthcare is now computer, essentially ran by robots and AIs rather. And so there was a program that was dispensing radiation, I don't know if it's called medication, not medication, but radiation therapy. And there was like a one-off decimal logic error. And so people were dying because of a logic error. That was nothing to do with the computer, right? So it's the programmer, him or herself, who made this error. All right. So here is an example of a logic error. Can you tell me what this error might be? Can you spot it? The total is wrong. So somehow the total was not added correctly here. This is an example of a logic error. All right. So the goal of testing is to find errors, essentially for the entire application before it goes into production. As Dwayne probably will tell you, it's a lot more expensive to fix errors in production than if you catch them before that, right? And then the goal of debugging is to fix, so you debug so you can catch the error and fix it, right? And this is also an activity that happens before going into production. If you have a 3-tier application, then you also have different, actually testing is a very big topic, but you have at least 3 test phases: testing the user interface, and then also testing the application with valid input, and something we haven't gotten to yet, testing the application with invalid input, right? In other words, if our application is supposed to take the product code and sorry to bore you.
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Long week. My apologies.
It's fine. I also yawned because we're just tired.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist.
Taking a big yawn.
Easy target here.
Yeah.
All right, so for example, with a line item, if we put for the code description the string Java and for the quantity 2, this would be correct. But how would you test with unexpected user actions? Can you think of a way? Amy?
Instead of putting quantity 2, you put letter instead.
Right, maybe you put Java again because you're not paying attention. So it's not the expected, but it's an unexpected input. And then we're going to learn about, it's actually, we're going to create a little routine file that we're going to use for handling data validation for our inputs, okay? All right, so here are some common examples of syntax errors, or also referred to as compile time errors. You're missing a semicolon, you close your parent, but your curly brace, but you didn't close it. You didn't declare the data type here, right? And then what is the problem here? Let's see.
N should be lowercase.
N should be lowercase. This is a, if Java doesn't know, the JVM doesn't know what this is. If it has to be lowercase, then it knows. There is the method. Okay, so these are just some examples of common errors. And yeah, so all these, if you open something, you need to make sure to close it. So if you have a syntax error, go through this checklist maybe and check for yourself. And also remember that the error you get may not actually be exactly, it's not going to exactly tell you what the problem is, but it will tell you the neighborhood where the error occurred, and then you need to look into it further to find out what actually happened. Okay, here is an example of a compile time error where you execution in thread main unresolved compilation problem. So this would be if you try to run, we haven't really been doing this much. If you try to run a program that has a syntax error, you're going to get this message here. Usually we just don't even try because we know that there is a problem, right? So here's an example of a runtime error. So if you have a runtime error, then it means there were no syntax error. Everything was fine looking at it. And then when you try to run the line item calculator, you enter quantity X, but it's expecting 5 or it's expecting an int. And you actually give it a string or a character. And then we're going to get an exception in thread main for string X. And then it will show you essentially what is called the stack trace of the different methods involved in the problem. And finally, it will give you a link to the line of code. And then you can click here, and it will take you to line 25. And when you do, you're going to see, oh, I'm expecting an int here, but. So this kind of error would be handled better by providing data validation, and we're going to learn how to do this at a later time. And an example of logic error. Okay. So one thing you can start doing that is very helpful is to add yourself a print statement. In fact, that's the easiest thing we can do even before we talk about the debugger. Is you're going to your program, print the values with just system out print line and see how the values change as you go through your program. When you're ready to release your program or submit it, you need to remove this. But this helps you see how are my values changing as I'm going through the program. So that's the simplest, easiest way to, to debug. Okay. All right, and then this brings us to the editor. So there is one of the reasons we use an IDE rather than just a text editor is because it has a very powerful debugger, and this is very helpful for us to debug our programs. And maybe instead of showing you here, we'll just see if we can quickly look. I don't think we can finish this right now, but let's at least look at the debugger on our Eclipse instead of on slides. All right, so yeah. All right, so one thing you can do is you can insert breakpoints, and let me just refresh my memory on the different. So we can first of all set the breakpoint. So let's say in the main, I'm going to set a breakpoint here on the on the int quantity. This wasn't very helpful. Maybe here. Okay, so what is a breakpoint? Dwayne.
It runs the code until it gets to that point and then stops.
Right. So when we
And
put a
then
break,
you can go to the debugger.
Exactly.
And do the thing.
so what we did here so you can just click on the blue line, and then you're going to see this little dot. We put a breakpoint. So the execution is going to hold here, so we can look at the values of our variables and see what's going on. So we can start by using some shortcuts. We can step into. So so put your breakpoint and then say F5. See here, I think we need to change to the debug perspective, however. So I'm going to open perspective and then debug. And this will change the view here of our workspace. And remember that we can always return the previous perspective by going to window reset perspective. Okay, and then we should be able to look at our variables here. Oops. So I'm just going to step through the code here instead. So I'm pressing F5. Window show variables. Here we go. Okay. It's doing something, so just give it a second here. Having some kind of hold up. Is any one of you able to see any values in the windows, in the variable window?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
I see variables.
All right. Why don't I?
Is it because you have to actually enter, it's asking for input instead of?
Oh, maybe that's why, because we're actually prompting. That's
One of the
right.
first things
Yeah, I
is
didn't
just
even
to
look
get
at this window. There you go. Okay, so let me just reset this real quick. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's waiting for us. Okay. Right here, that's why. Okay, thank you. So what we can do here is say Java. Okay, so it was actually just me again being a little brain dead at the moment. So we entered the product code in the quantity, the prompt window, and then as you can see here in the variable window, I guess we're running out of time, but this is the last thing I'll show you for today. And hopefully now, after you enter the values, you can see, you can inspect the values of the different variables in your code, right? And then we're going to step through our code, and then we're going to expect to see the different values. So we'll start next time from here and continue. I think we're just out of time, but this was a first look at the powerful Eclipse debugger.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you. See
Thank you
you.
very much.
See you on Monday.
So I think I need to know why your quantity is weird.
Oh, good.
If you go over to line item Java,
Just let me just stop this.